In the sixth stanza, Dryden presents a very important comparison. He brings together two traditions, classical mythology and Christian belief, and compares the greatest musicians. He refers to figures like Jubal and Orpheus to explain the power of music. Jubal is mentioned in the Bible as the first musician, the inventor of musical instruments, especially string instruments. This shows that music has a very ancient and sacred origin. Dryden then refers to Orpheus, a famous figure from Greek mythology. Orpheus was believed to have magical musical power. His music was so beautiful that it could move animals, trees, and even stones. Nature itself would respond to his songs. In the line, Orpheus could lead the savage race, and trees uprooted left their place, Dryden shows how powerful his music was. Even lifeless things seemed to follow him. However, Dryden does not stop with Orpheus. He introduces St Cecilia and raises her to a higher level. According to Dryden, Orpheus could move nature, but Cecilia could move heaven itself. While Orpheus could affect the physical world, Cecilia's music was so pure and divine that it could bring an angel down from heaven. This is the central idea of the stanza. Orpheus represents human or artistic power, while Cecilia represents divine or spiritual power. Dryden clearly shows that divine music is greater than human skill. The contrast is very important. Orpheus is a Greek mythical musician, but Cecilia is a Christian saint. Orpheus moves nature, but Cecilia moves heaven. Orpheus shows human achievement, but Cecilia represents divine grace. Through this comparison, Dryden gives victory to Christianity over classical mythology. He suggests that Christian belief is higher and more powerful than ancient pagan traditions. For competitive exams, remember this key point. In this stanza, Dryden proves that Cecilia's music is superior because it is holy and connected with God, not just with human or natural power. In the seventh and final stanza, Dryden brings the poem to a powerful conclusion. He connects the beginning of the world with its end, and once again shows the complete power of music. He says that just as the universe began through sacred lays, or divine music, it will also end through music. In the first stanza, music created order out of chaos. Now, in the final stanza, music will destroy that same order. Dryden introduces the idea of the last trumpet. According to Christian belief, on the day of judgment, an angel will blow a great trumpet. When this trumpet is heard, the dead will rise from their graves, and all human beings will be judged by God. The phrase, this crumbling pageant, refers to the world. Dryden describes the world as something temporary and fragile. One day, it will be destroyed, and this destruction will be announced by the sound of the final trumpet. This stanza shows a very important idea. Music is both creative and destructive. It has the power to bring the world into existence, and it also has the power to bring it to an end. So, music controls the entire cycle of life, from beginning to final destruction. The last trumpet becomes a powerful symbol. It represents the final judgment, the end of human life, and the absolute authority of God. It is not just a musical sound, but a divine command. The poem therefore comes full circle. It begins with harmony and creation, and it ends with a trumpet and destruction. This circular structure shows that music is present at every stage of existence. For understanding the poem as a whole, remember this final idea. Dryden proves that music is not limited to human life. It is a universal and divine force that controls the beginning, the middle, and the end of the entire universe. Now let us look at the major themes of the poem. These themes help us understand the deeper meaning of Dryden's work. The first and most important theme is the power of music. This is the central idea of the entire poem. Dryden shows that music is not just for entertainment. It has the power to create the world, influence human emotions, inspire war, express love, bring spiritual peace, and finally destroy the universe. In this way, music controls every aspect of existence. The second theme is harmony and order. Dryden believes that the universe is not random or chaotic. It is based on perfect balance and harmony. Music becomes a symbol of this order. This idea reflects the neoclassical belief in reason, balance, and structure, which was very important during Dryden's time. The third theme is the relationship between music and human emotion. Dryden explains that different musical instruments create different feelings. The trumpet creates courage, the flute creates sorrow, the violin creates passion, and the organ creates devotion. Through this, he shows that music has direct control over human emotions. The fourth theme is Christianity versus paganism. Dryden compares St Cecilia, a Christian saint, with Orpheus, a figure from Greek mythology. While Orpheus can move nature, Cecilia can move heaven. This shows that Christian music is more powerful and divine than pagan or classical music. The final theme is creation and destruction. In the beginning, music creates the universe. At the end, music destroys it. This gives the poem a circular structure. It begins with harmony and ends with the last trumpet, showing that music controls the entire cycle of existence. Now let us understand the major symbols used in the poem. Symbols are very important because they give deeper meaning to simple things. First, harmony is a key symbol. It represents divine order and creation. Dryden uses harmony to show that the universe is not random, but perfectly designed through music. Next, the trumpet is a symbol of war, courage, and judgment. Its loud sound represents energy, heroism, and also the final judgment at the end of the world. The flute symbolizes love and sadness. Its soft and gentle sound expresses the pain of unhappy lovers and emotional suffering. The violin represents passion and jealousy. Its sharp and intense sound shows strong emotions like anger, desperation, and deep love. The organ is a symbol of religion and spirituality. Its music is sacred and lifts the human soul towards God. It represents peace, devotion, and divine connection. St Cecilia herself is a powerful symbol. She represents divine music. Through her, Dryden shows that music is not just human, but heavenly and spiritual. Finally, the last trumpet is a symbol of the end of the world. It represents final judgment, the destruction of the universe, and the ultimate power of God. Through all these symbols, Dryden makes the poem deeper and more meaningful. Each symbol connects music with human life, nature, and the divine world. Now let us clearly understand the important literary devices used in the poem. Dryden uses these devices to make the poem more musical, expressive, and powerful. First, alliteration means the repetition of the same consonant sound at the beginning of nearby words. In the line, "What passion cannot music raise and quell?" the repeated sounds create rhythm and make the line more musical. Next, assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds. In "From Harmony," from heavenly harmony, the repeated vowel sounds make the line smooth and pleasing to the ear. Consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds within words. In "The Trumpet's Loud Clangor," the strong sounds imitate the harsh and loud noise of the trumpet. Repetition means repeating a word or phrase for emphasis. Dryden repeats, "From Harmony," to stress that the universe is created through divine music. Anaphora is a special type of repetition at the beginning of lines. For example, "The trumpets," "the double-double." This gives the poem a strong rhythm and flow. Imagery means using descriptive language to create pictures in the reader's mind. The soft complaining flute helps us imagine the sound clearly. Auditory imagery focuses on sound. The trumpet's loud clangor excites us to arms, makes us almost hear the sound of the trumpet. Personification is giving human qualities to non-human things. The complaining flute is described as if it can feel and express sorrow like a human being. A metaphor is a direct comparison. Dryden presents music as the force that created the universe, suggesting its divine and powerful nature. Hyperbole means exaggeration. When Dryden says, "Music shall untune the sky," he exaggerates to show the great power of music. Apostrophe is when the poet addresses an absent person or idea. Dryden speaks directly to St Cecilia and music, which makes the poem more emotional and respectful. Finally, symbolism is very important in this poem. Different instruments represent different emotions. For example, the trumpet stands for war and courage, while the flute represents sorrow and love. Through these symbols, Dryden connects music with human life in a deeper way. Now let us continue with the remaining important literary devices in the poem. These devices deepen the meaning and strengthen Dryden's ideas. Allegory means an extended symbolic meaning. In this poem, different musical instruments represent different human emotions. So, the poem can be understood as a complete picture of human feelings controlled by music. Onomatopoeia refers to words that imitate sound. The word clangor sounds like the loud noise of a trumpet, making the description more realistic. Contrast is the use of opposing ideas. Dryden contrasts Jubal's earthly music with St Cecilia's heavenly music to show that Cecilia is superior. Antithesis means placing opposite ideas in a balanced way. In Raise and Quell, Dryden shows that music can both excite and calm emotions. Paradox is a statement that seems contradictory but is true. The idea that music can both create and destroy the world shows its mysterious and powerful nature. Parallelism means using similar sentence structures. Lines like, the trumpets, the soft complaining, create balance and make the poem easier to follow. Climax refers to a gradual rise in intensity. The poem moves from the creation of the world, to human emotions, and finally to the destruction of the universe, giving it a grand structure. Enjambment means a sentence continues into the next line without a pause. This gives the poem a smooth and flowing movement, like music itself. Caesura is a pause in the middle of a line. In From Harmony, from Heavenly Harmony, the pause slows the rhythm and adds seriousness. The rhyme scheme of the poem is irregular. This means the pattern of rhymes keeps changing, which helps Dryden match the different moods and sounds of various instruments. Heroic couplets are pairs of rhyming lines in iambic pentameter. Dryden uses them in parts of the poem to create balance and formal beauty. The ode form is very important. The entire poem is an ode, meaning it is written to praise St Cecilia and the power of music. This gives the poem a grand and elevated tone. Musicality refers to how the poem itself sounds like music. Dryden changes rhythm and sound patterns to match each instrument, making the poem almost like a performance. Mythological allusion is a reference to myths. Dryden refers to figures like Jubal and Orpheus, connecting the poem to ancient traditions. Biblical allusion is a reference to the Bible. Jubal is mentioned as the father of music, giving a sacred background to the idea of music. Irony is an unexpected contrast. Music creates peace in some cases and war in others, showing its double nature. Finally, mood refers to the emotional atmosphere of the poem. The mood changes from joyful in the beginning, to sorrowful and passionate in the middle, and finally to serious and powerful at the end, reflecting the effects of different kinds of music. Now let us look at a few more important literary devices that help us understand the poem more clearly. First, tone refers to the poet's attitude toward the subject. In this poem, Dryden's tone is reverential and celebratory. He treats music with deep respect and admiration, almost as if it is a divine power. Next, metonymy is when one thing is represented by something closely related to it. For example, the trumpet stands for war. Dryden does not describe war directly, but through the sound of the trumpet, he suggests battle, courage, and action. Transferred epithet is a device where an adjective is shifted from a person to a thing. In the phrase, complaining flute, the flute itself is not complaining. It is actually the human emotion that is being transferred to the instrument. This makes the description more poetic and expressive. Finally, inversion means changing the normal word order of a sentence. In From Harmony, from Heavenly Harmony, the structure is slightly unusual. This inversion gives the line a more poetic and grand effect, making it sound more formal and powerful. Now let us understand the style and language of the poem, which play a very important role in its impact. Dryden uses a grand and elevated style throughout the poem. His language is formal, rich, and dignified, which suits the serious subject of music and divine power. The poem has a heroic tone, meaning it feels noble and majestic, especially when describing creation, war, and the end of the world. Another important feature is the mixture of Christian and classical references. Dryden brings together ideas from the Bible, such as St Cecilia and Jubal, along with figures from Greek mythology like Orpheus. This combination makes the poem intellectually rich and culturally wide. The language is also full of sound effects and rhythm. Dryden carefully chooses words that not only convey meaning but also create sound. This is very important because the poem is about music. In fact, Dryden does not simply describe music, he makes the poem itself sound like music. This is one of his greatest achievements. Different parts of the poem have different rhythms to match different instruments. For example, the lines about the trumpet are loud, fast, and energetic, which reflects the excitement of war. On the other hand, the lines about the flute are soft, slow, and smooth, which reflects sadness and gentle emotion. Through this technique, Dryden turns the poem into a kind of musical performance, where each stanza has its own sound and feeling. This makes the poem more powerful, memorable, and enjoyable to read. Now let us look at the critical appreciation of the poem, which helps us understand its overall value in literature. A Song for St Cecilia's Day is considered one of the finest odes in English literature. In this poem, Dryden successfully combines poetry and music in a very powerful way. He does not just write about music, he actually makes the poem sound musical through rhythm, sound patterns, and word choice. One of Dryden's greatest achievements in this poem is that he proves poetry can imitate musical effects. Each stanza feels different because the sound and rhythm change according to the instrument being described. This makes the poem lively and dynamic. The poem is widely admired for its rich imagery. Dryden creates clear and vivid pictures of sound, emotion, and action. It is also known for its noble thought, as it deals with great ideas like creation, human emotion, divine power, and the end of the world. The structure of the poem is also perfect and well planned. It moves step by step, from the creation of the universe, to human emotions, and finally to destruction, giving it a complete and circular design. Another important quality is its powerful sound effects. The poem almost feels like a musical performance, where each part has its own tone and energy. Many critics consider this poem the best musical ode written before Dryden's later work, Alexander's Feast. It is also regarded as a masterpiece of restoration poetry, showing the height of Dryden's poetic skill and artistic control. Now let us look at some of the most important quotations from the poem. These lines are very useful for exams because they clearly express Dryden's main ideas. The first quotation is, "From harmony, from heavenly harmony, this universal frame began." This means that the entire universe was created through divine music. Dryden shows that harmony is the foundation of creation. Next, "The trumpet's loud clangor excites us to arms." This line shows how the sound of the trumpet inspires courage and pushes people towards war. It represents energy, bravery, and action. Then, "The soft complaining flute." This short phrase is very powerful. It shows that the flute expresses sorrow, love, and emotional pain. The word, complaining, makes the music feel human and full of feeling. Another important line is, "What passion cannot music raise and quell?" Here Dryden is asking a rhetorical question. He means that music has complete control over human emotions. It can both create feelings and calm them. Finally, "He raised a mortal to the skies, she drew an angel down." This line compares Orpheus and St Cecilia. Orpheus could lift a human towards heaven through his music, but Cecilia could bring an angel down from heaven. This shows that her music is more powerful and divine. These quotations are very important because they summarize the main ideas of the poem: creation, emotion, power of music, and the superiority of divine harmony. Now let us quickly revise the most important points of the poem in a simple and clear way. John Dryden is known as the father of English criticism because of his important contributions to literary theory. A Song for St Cecilia's Day was published in 1687 and is written as an irregular Pindaric ode. St Cecilia is the patron saint of music, and the poem is written to celebrate both her and the power of music. One key idea is that the universe itself begins with harmony, showing that music is a creative force. Each instrument represents a different emotion. The trumpet stands for war and courage. The flute represents love and sorrow. The violin expresses passion and jealousy. The organ symbolizes religious devotion and spiritual peace. Dryden also shows that St Cecilia is greater than Orpheus, because her music is divine and can influence heaven itself. Finally, the poem ends with the idea of the Last Judgment, where the final trumpet will sound and bring the world to an end. These points are very important for quick revision and can help you answer questions easily in exams. To conclude, A Song for St Cecilia's Day is a grand and powerful celebration of music. Dryden clearly shows that music is not just a form of entertainment, but a divine force that shapes the entire universe. Through the use of different musical instruments, he explains the full range of human emotions, from courage and war to love, sorrow, passion, and spiritual peace. Each part of the poem adds a new layer to our understanding of music's influence. In the end, Dryden proves that divine music, represented by Saint Cecilia, is greater than all human and natural power. The poem begins with creation and ends with destruction, showing that music controls the whole cycle of existence. Because of its rich ideas, perfect structure, and musical quality, the poem remains one of the greatest works of Restoration poetry. It is also extremely important for competitive examinations, as it covers major themes, literary devices, and philosophical concepts in a clear and memorable way. Like, share and subscribe for more literature videos.